Great.
Yep.
You ready to start?
Yes.
I'm not. Now I am. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against It Live, Fleshable Call-In Show. I'm William Table, and joined by my constant co-host, Kevin Smurph Murphy. Kevin, what's up?
What's up?
Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you'd like to be live on air talking to us about your take, join the Pit Against Discord by clicking on the link that's in the description. Then join the waiting room channel, put your hot take in the topics text channel, and if we like your take, we'll pull you on for a mic check and pull you on air. Kevin. Start us off.
I think Kiss of Death, for at least the next 2 weeks, is going to get more complaints about rules than Spectra.
Okay,
and
so
I wouldn't be surprised if it had as many rules complaints as Spectra in the long run.
Okay, I like that clarity because that was going to be my next thing. Kiss of Death. All right, so I'm just going to talk about the card for a second. It was spoiled by a max ferocity.
Yes.
And it is a 0 cost, red pitch, majestic, 3 damage, 3 block, stealth. When this hits a hero, they lose 1 life. Simple. Assassin, action, attack, dagger.
Yeah.
Dagger. It's an attack with it's a dagger attack.
It is a dagger attack.
It's a attack action card that is also a dagger.
Yes.
That on hit they lose 1 life, has stealth.
Yes.
Stealth. There we go.
So, this is something they talk about in the rules surprise. You can flick this.
You use flick knives on this.
So if you play this, yeah, it has to be on your turn. You can't be blocking with it. Because flick knives does specify a dagger you control, but there is currently no way to flick it on your opponent's turn.
It's a reaction.
It is an attack reaction.
Yeah. Well,
which can only be used on your turn.
Yes.
So, because you can flick it, every on-hit triggers when you flick it. So if you attack with this, go again into another thing, then you can activate flick knives on that second thing because it's no longer the active chain link where the dagger is. You can flick it, and it counts as hitting.
It counts as hitting, which is the important part for
itself.
Well, a lot of things. Yeah, for itself. That's like the whole thing about like if it hits a hero, they lose 1 life.
Toxicity.
Yeah.
Any of the spikes. You can't just nick it.
Yeah, you can do Spike of Inertia and give them 2 inertia tokens.
You can give them double frailty to a Fang, and then his daggers, even when he pumps them to 2, still don't deal damage.
Double Blood Rot is the gross one.
You can double spike with Blood Rot. They cite toxicity, but like, I think Blood Rot is actually better because it pushes it over on the one you play it, and then also on the one that you send it.
Mm-hmm.
So you would get 2 more value
That's
out
really
of it.
Good. Yeah.
But at 1 cost. You can double Concealed Blade with it, then potentially, and re-equip 2 daggers.
Huh.
Let's see, what else is there? That one doesn't work. That one doesn't work. I think that's actually kind of it.
They should make a card called Spike ? And it's on hit create as Ponder. Anyways,
okay.
Way off topic.
I guess 2 sides of the blade also works, which is the on hit mark them one.
That's probably relevant.
That is relevant because that's one of the reacts where it gets a full 6 value when you use it on
you can on hit mark them, play another
so
attack.
So 2 sides of the blade
then
is a
flick
common
knife.
assassin attack reaction, 1 cost. Choose.
Yeah.
It is only choose one. It's not choose one or both. Target dagger attack gets +3. Target attack action card with stealth gets +3. And when this hits,
okay,
hero mark them.
So you play this, you react to where it has on hit mark them.
Yeah.
You then play another attack. You flick knives in reactions, which removes
hit
the mark
them, remark them,
and then that attack that you are reacting to will then hit them,
and hit them and
And
trigger
remove the
any
mark.
on hit for mark stuff.
Okay. That's the part I was missing because I was like,
Yeah.
wait, I thought you
Or-
wanted them marked.
Or they've blocked. They let the first one hit, or the first one hit because it had go again or on hit go again or whatever, and then you flick this to, you have this on it to flick and remark them, so that you can then flip into a random agent.
Well, okay, so you flick and remark them, but then they get hit by the attack?
Maybe not.
Maybe they block
If
them.
they block 3 on it.
Okay. Okay, that
Like,
makes sense. Yeah.
Like it, there's going to be a lot of weird interactions with it, and the one that I just went back and forth on with somebody in our Discord for about 20 or about half an hour was Arachne Marionette says stealth cards. If you're stealth cards that are attacking a marked hero, I'm gonna check this to make sure I get
Your
it right.
attacks with stealth that are attacking a marked hero get +1, and when this hits, it gets go again. Huh.
So if you flick this and it has on hit go again, what happens?
It gets go again? No.
So
On hit
here's the
go
short
again?
version.
It's not like
It is not on hit go again. It is on hit this gets go again,
okay. That makes more sense.
which is
That makes more sense.
Kiss of Death would get go again, and then
Yes.
there's no point for it to resolve the go again to gain an action point. Also, it's not on the combat chain anymore. Anyways, it's destroyed, so the on hit go, the gaining of go again would also fizzle anyways. So that's the short version of it. Doesn't work, but that's gonna come up. And
That is
all
gonna
of these interactions are going to get rules questions at every pre-release. Like, every pre-release where this is opened, it's probably going to come up. And it's going to be a mess.
So, there's two things that I think of when I think of judge problems, and
Yeah.
it's Spectra in a particular card. Do you know what card it might be? The bane of judge's existence.
You're going to say it, and I'm going to immediately
You ready?
realize it. Hang on.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Okay. This is the one I hear judges complain about the most. Whether or not this is what you're thinking of, you might also say something that's annoying, but this is the one I feel like I hear the most.
It's
Or
not
used to hear.
eloquence, even though that with Funeral Moon
That
and
one
now
should
Cull
be, but holy
is really
frick.
funny. It's gonna be.
It's gonna be.
It's gonna be.
Once people start playing it more.
Once Cull is out, that's gonna be a pain in the neck for judges.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, what is it?
Exude confidence.
Yep.
That's the one. That's the one where judges say
I think
like,
that's not
"Ugh."
not in the way that judges have an issue with it, but that they
Yeah.
just get the most questions about it. I'm guessing
Yes.
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's when it's broken down, it's not that difficult, but the wording
But
on
reading
the,
it, parsing that text is a
reading
pain.
it is hard, and it has been not rules errata, but like it has been Oracle text rewritten like a few times just
Yeah.
for clarity reasons.
Oh, I bet. Ball
frick.
lightning is also probably a problem.
Yeah, ball lightning was
It got banned for it.
yeah. Well,
okay.
yeah.
So like Spectra, yes, Spectra is obviously a rules nightmare. I
Mm-hmm.
was finding people in Chicago correcting them on Spectra interactions because they were like a rune like Chain or Viscerai or somebody attacked into an Arclight Sentinel to start their turn with an attack action card,
Mm-hmm.
and then used creepers to play a non-attack action
Oh,
gain
no.
their action point. And that doesn't work.
no.
And
Do
so
you-
like
do you let
I
him
was
take it
actually
back, or do you
I was
call a judge
watching
on
that
him?
table like at the end of that turn because they
Yeah.
were like attacking with Rosetta into Spectra, and they called a judge just to make sure to remind themselves that it didn't work. And I was like, no, it never resolves as attacking. Like while they were waiting on the judge to come over, and they were like, yeah, okay, we were pretty sure that's what happened. And I said, yeah, that's why Creepers doesn't work when you hit ALS. And they were like, I'm sorry, what? And I'm like, it never resolves as attacking, so you can't use Creepers. And they're
Yeah.
like, we started this turn with that.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And they rewound that turn completely.
Holy frick.
So yes,
Oh.
Spectra is a pain, and the interactions are a pain. I think this card is going to get more complaints.
Attack doesn't resolve, so you can't even. It's not even
Yes.
live. You can't even pretend
Yes.
to activate it.
You have not
Okay.
met the condition
That's
of
it.
having attacked with an attack action card.
That's funny. Yeah,
for
Spectra's a
to be-
pain.
Yeah.
The rules on Spectra and Rune Chance, specifically because Chain and Viscerai into Prism
Yep.
was a long meta, and so
But that's also because that's changed.
yes, and that's another part of it. Holy
Yes.
frick! Because we all knew it one way, and we felt
Yep.
fairly confident in it, and then it changed, and now I don't know which way it is anymore, and I don't bother caring because when it comes up, I'm
Yep.
just calling a judge.
Yep. So I think this card is going to get comparisons to Spectra in terms of how bad the rules interactions are, or how not how bad, but how unintuitive some of the rules interactions are.
Kiss of Death. Is that what it's called
Kiss
again?
of Death.
Kiss of Death.
Yeah.
Kiss of Death. I'm sure the judges will come up with a cute nickname.
It's going to get called COD.
I just meant like the judges are going to have a nickname for like getting a rules called related to it. Like,
Probably. I mean, the community's just going to call it COD within a week.
Judge Call of Death or something.
Yeah. Judge Kiss.
I like Call of Death, like Judge Call of Death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it. Kiss of Death is Bay. Okay, same. Kiss of Death is based. The card is insane. I tried explaining it to one of my coworkers today, and he was like, "You can't trick me. That's not how that works." And I was like, "I'm so sorry. That's
bro. Yes.
Holy frick.
Like I both love and hate this card because it is like
this is
so
one of those
cool
cards
and
where
there's so much you can do with it.
You explain it to somebody, and they think you're like
they think
trying
you're
to
cheating.
shark you. Yeah.
Yes, like Spectra. They think it's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Like I think it's going to get compared to Spectra.
I think as soon as you know if something interacts or the interactions with dagger tacticians, you're good with weapon one-handed. That takes care of most things. That's true. Most people don't know that though. TCG talk.
Yeah, I think one, you have to explain that to someone first, and then they have to be okay with it being a dagger. When, like, so I will say in this set, they have broken all the rules for flick knives.
I love that.
Every restriction that was on flick knives previously is gone.
Yeah,
it's done.
I love it.
It literally, they don't exist anymore.
It's so funny.
It's kind of wild.
It is wild.
So like that's gonna. I think Kiss of Death is gonna be compared to Spectra in its rules interactions, and I think Take Up the Mantle is gonna be compared to Codex of Frailty.
I can understand this because I've already had people like confidently explain Kiss of Death incorrectly on Bluesky that I've seen. And I typically say if you're engaged in Flesh and Blood on social media of any kind or watching Flesh and Blood content, you are probably in the top 10% of players just because of how engaged to the game you are. These very entrenched players read the card, read the rules interactions, read everything about it, and it's still not all of them connected.
Yeah.
That's fine because it took me a while and a bunch of explaining to get it.
And I'm still figuring it out. Like as of 10 minutes ago, I was still working through part of its interactions. Like this is not.
It's so crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely would not be surprised if people said they compared it to Spectra. I think it's gonna happen because it's that unintuitive. I think where it's like, yeah. I
think this is going to, just because of how face up the card is and it's an attack and the fact that it's all on one person's side of the board basically, as opposed to Spectra where it's if a specific kind of
interacting with your
it,
thing.
This might be, it's going to show up more, which might make it seem that way. I don't know if you would call that more or less, confusing or judge calling. And then also I feel like the fact that we were able to figure this out now, like in the last couple of hours, as much as we have about it, and it took people months to figure out Eloquence Token, I kind of want to give the award to that, to Eloquence Token. Because
we figured out Eloquence pretty quickly.
Who's we?
Well, we knew the rules interactions about eloquence pretty quickly. Just nobody used it because they didn't think it could be used.
I feel like most people still don't know that you
That's
can
because that's because it wasn't in games. It wasn't happening.
I guess that's true.
Like the community, like I guarantee like everyone or the majority of people like read through that rules text on eloquence and were just like, oh, that's neat, and then never saw it and forgot it. And so now as it's happening to them again for the first time with Cull, they're gonna be like, wait, what? And it's gonna mess with them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like all 4 of those things, actually, I would say exude the least, but all 3 of those things are pretty awful.
They are some of the roughest things for players to understand. So
at least it's not like in Magic the Gathering where it's like there's cards that talk about I don't know. They have Magic the Gathering rules on specific cards, like rules that just reference specific cards, but they have a billion cards. I don't know. Cards that talk about how the order of your graveyard is important in Magic. Yeah. Yeah, other stuff like that. But then also other cards that say grab a random card from your graveyard.
What?
So how do those interact? Anyways. I'm sure a judge is listening to that and is just like, it's not that bad. But
yeah, it never comes up.
Yeah. But yeah, that is a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah. How much? That's one thing I didn't think. I was so excited about Kiss of Death and like learning about it. Yes. I didn't even think about how this card gets opened in pre-release, and it's like somebody's job is going to be sit with the person who opened it and make sure they're explaining it to them very well.
Yeah, dude. Like I started reading. Like I read that card and I'm like, please don't let you be able to flick this because it is a nightmare if you can. Please let this just be. You can use dagger reacts on it. And it's a way to like get that like 0 for 6 attack react.
The best cards are nightmares though.
But like
Tarmogoyf? I'm referencing Magic again.
What's that?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Like no, as soon as like I saw the text that you could flick it, I was like, this is gonna be a nightmare. This is going to be a problem for people. Which
judges will have to be triple briefed on it. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Oh, World Premiere tomorrow is going to suck.
No, it's going to be great.
It's going to suck for the judges.
Okay, sure. Don't paint World Premiere as a bad thing.
Sorry. I should have clarified.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be a judge at a World Premiere.
I don't. No. Unless there's people who are like into that stuff. There's people who are just like, yeah, I want to be on the ground explaining the nitty gritty, and it's like,
no, you're making it up.
Hard. Yeah,
on the ground in the moment.
Yeah, it's rough.
Like
the judges meeting. Jeez, they need to do like the judges meeting like the day before and just have a 5 hours of if you have any questions, please speak up because we need to go over all of this.
Yeah. And half it's gonna be this card.
Tarantula Toxin. I think in theory someone could pull Tarantula Toxin and this, and then it's like you explain to your opponent this is a dagger attack and it's a card with stealth.
This is a dagger that I own.
So a lot of people don't know that. There's a lot of people who don't know things on the combat chain you by definition own or
control.
You control. You
do not own. Control. You control. New can have cards on the combat chain that she controls that she doesn't own.
Not exclusively own and control, but control.
You do control them.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah.
You tap with Kiss of Death and the Tarantula Toxin. So good.
Yeah.
Oh, this card's great.
It's just crazy. It's so crazy. Man.
I'm excited about this set.
It's gonna be wild.
I'm also excited. This is a little off topic and not like big for the show or whatever, but Hunter's what? Clave? I thought it was knife. Clave? Hunter's Clave, I'm so glad exists because I just assumed that they'd be playing Mark of the Huntsman and CC, and I was like, that sounds miserable. But this card is actually just what they needed for CC. If it was an expansion slot card, I wouldn't have been surprised.
I wouldn't have been either. I think it's a kind of a bomb in limited because it fundamentally changes the way you draft.
Because it reminds me of Chain with Dread Scythe. Yeah, and I felt bad about that.
100%.
We have a caller if you want to go grab our caller.
Sure.
We can move on to another topic, and everyone else can move on to joining the Discord. If you want to give your take, you can join the Discord link that's in the description. I'm burping so much, I apologize. And if you want to about Flesh and Blood or the new set or anything like that, if you want to say something like every Arachne sucks now, then you can join the Pit Against Discord and put that in the call-in topics channel, and we can hash it out. But for now, we have a caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Dylan, otherwise known as TC Talk, and I'm coming from Virginia.
Oh, heck yeah. And what would you like to talk about on the show today? Or actually, wait, you had 2 takes.
Yeah, I went over it with Kevin. I think we decided on doing the disruption point. So is like the main thing that I said, I think in y'all's chat is disruption and assassin-based disruption or disruption in general more polarizing in Flesh and Blood to new players than say board state like Prism, or even you could even go Fatigue if you ever want to go down that road too with like Oldheim and stuff like that. Because I had someone in my chat today, which I didn't ever think about. I had a couple people actually say that they think that this set has so much disruption that it actually, and I don't want to go too negative down the chain, but they said it actually might be more off-putting for newer players because they feel like they can't play the game. And yeah, so that was the baseline point. And so what y'all's thoughts on that? Yes, no, maybe, and expand on it. Get y'all's thoughts too.
Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I think one of the worst play experiences for if you're introducing the game to somebody right now is to have them play against new.
It is a little demoralizing.
I think it's more than a little if it's your first time. Like CYB new, just like milling you out of your deck, ripping your hand apart taking average 2 cards out of your hand every turn is awful. And we're only getting more of that. Yeah, I think Tim and I are both on the same page, and we actually talked about this last night. This could be enough to push Assassin over that critical mass of disruption where you literally just don't get to play the game against them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have more on-hit discards. They have basically Codex of Frailty 2.0 with a +3 react on it. So they just get more Bonds of Agony. They get more Persuasive Prognosis.
I don't think people have made that correlation, by the way, with that card.
Yeah.
That's literally what that card is.
No, it's okay. You can play any stealth card, and if you have Tunic up as new, and you react, take up the mantle on it, and you Tunic an equipment react, you get a Bonds of Agony to 8.
Okay, so
7?
I'll read the card real quickly. It's take up the mantle, assassin attack reaction, costs 0, pitches for 2, blocks for 3. Target attack action with stealth gets +2. If it's attacking a March hero, instead it gets +3. And you may banish an attack action card with stealth from your graveyard. If you do, the target, the stealth card, becomes a copy of the banished stealth card.
You mean pitches for 2, right?
Yeah,
pitches for 2. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said cost 2. I was like, wait, did I play that wrong on TTS earlier? For like
cost
5 games?
Cost 2, pitches 0. Yes.
That would be more balanced.
No, when it said 0, I was like, what?
Yeah, this is so like you just play any stealth card, you play this on it, like your generic shitty blue stealths that new is running right now. Your double troubles, your Bonds of Attraction, Bonds of Memory, blue infect, any of those. You bring in Hunter's Glaive. This is why this card is scary. Is Hunter's Glaive. Without Hunter's Glaive, this card isn't as scary, I think.
Yeah.
Because you can't play this in new. So like you have this, you turn your crappy blue stealth attack into a Bonds of Agony that already gets +3 from this. and then you tunic one of your equipment pieces, which is 2 more reacts to trigger Bonds of Agony.
Yep.
And it's up to 7 or 8, depending on which equipment piece you use.
And even
Already.
that, like you can use Mark of the Black Widow. Like there is so much you can, like if
Yeah.
you're Mark, there is like endless possibilities. There's like a lose-lose situation for people.
Yeah,
So-
like if you're doing this in Marionette with one of the agents, like you're just guaranteed another +3 on something. Like you can turn this into Kiss of Death if you want.
Oh.
You can turn it into Kiss of Death and get go again, and then do another thing, and then send.
Especially if you do what
Everything.
they said in the
Makes Kiss of Death
article,
more,
where like
yeah.
if you have isolates in your deck, so giving it dominate, and then they only
It
can block
keeps the
with one
dominate, I
card,
think?
and then well,
Or
you're already
it doesn't
you're in
keep the dominate,
reactions,
but
yeah.
they can only react.
So if they don't have any reactions, like you just
Yeah.
made them block with one card
Oh
on
my
an agony,
gosh.
basically, and then
So
yeah.
this in Azuri, because you're running 6 isolates anyways, that stay in your deck because you're swapping them. Are you going to swap, or are you going to turn this into Bonds of Agony? Are you going to turn it into Persuasive Prognosis?
Yeah, when I saw this card cost 0, I was like, why is Gorgon's Gaze cost 2 and it's conditional? This makes no sense. Like, why is this 0
Huh?
cost 3 block that's also a yellow and can be pitched for daggers? Like, it's just ridiculous.
This is Codex. This is another 3 copies of Codex functionally, except it's the Azuri tricked Codex.
Yep.
So you don't know if they're going to Azuri swap you, or if they're going to do this, or if they're just going to nick it, or they're going to spike it. Like,
Oh,
Yeah,
Justin.
and to go back to the original thing is like I think that's the one thing because people are just excited for the set that people don't realize is like all these cards, none of these cards are chaos locked. So
Yeah.
like this is just gonna make us like Uziri got insane buffs from this set. People don't realize Uziri is gonna be actually like scary.
yeah,
Or
all
even
of
if
them
you
are.
like even just Arachne Huntsman, you put Market of Seed on Arachne Huntsman and give Arachne Huntsman all of these reactions. It's not as good as the other here, obviously, but you could literally just run almost any assassin with all these reactions, throw some stealth attacks in there, and it's going to be scary.
Yeah,
I think
like-
if a Arachne Huntsman player plays this, it's going to be very difficult to play through the tiers. Because they just don't get the contract that they want to play with.
Yeah, it doesn't come
they-
with the fate
Yeah.
seal. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and new gets this. But yeah, I agree with Kevin. Like the disruption's pretty nutty. Like what is frustrating is like sometimes when you don't do anything, like Mask of Recurring Nightmares is the most frustrating card in the history of the world because they throw Bonds of
Yes.
Agony and then you block 9 and then you try to hold one card and then they just say, okay, I didn't have reactions anyway. Here's a chi. Go ahead and give me your last card. Like so.
oh my gosh.
I agree.
Yeah, I think this is going to end up one of the least fun experience. This can end up as one of the least fun experiences to play against because, like, with a board state thing, like you can kind of watch the snowball build, and then you can kind of figure out like, oh, I need to hit this thing. I need to hit this thing. I need to hit this thing, and it's kind of. It reasonably kind of follows. For this stuff, though, when you're just getting your hand ripped apart, well, it's like, well, if I block and they have this, I lose. If I don't block and they have this, I lose. But if I don't block and they have this, I'm okay.
Makes
Like,
me want to play Assassin.
dude, I'm going to be starting to work on Arachne Marionette tomorrow.
Oh, I already messaged Min-Max on Hall. I was like, okay, I want this. I want this. I want this. Like, it's literally just,
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to also say this. We have no Chaos cards yet.
yeah, and we don't even have the fun stuff, which I'm excited about.
Where are the
think it's gonna
Chaos
be good.
cards? What do they do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know what's going to be weird at World Premiere tomorrow?
Finding
Chaos
it out.
cards.
Yeah, Chaos cards.
Yeah.
You're going to open your packs and find a bunch of Chaos cards and be like, what the frick does this do?
Mm-hmm. I agree. I will say from a rule, the only thing that this has that Spectra and stuff doesn't is I know y'all were talking about before right before I came on is like Kiss of Death is very annoying to explain, but I don't know, maybe it's just me as a player. Getting disrupted feels really bad, but not even understanding what you're doing feels sometimes like with OG
Yeah.
Prism, like trying to explain Spectra to someone or a loop to someone when the loop started happening. It's like they're like, okay, I can't do anything, and I don't even understand what you're doing. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
even make sense to me. Whereas at least this, it's like I can somewhat get what you're doing. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword because that's what.
Like a little bit.
Mhm.
Goblin Reserve says, love you. I love you too.
Love you too, Hank.
What I was going to say is I'm gonna go off topic and complain a little bit more, which
Yeah,
is
that's fine.
assassin disruption archetype, guardian disruption archetype. I don't have crush on hit destroy arsenal. I don't have crush on hit discard a card from your hand.
You have versions of both of those. Don't lie to us.
I want better, bigger, badder versions of both of those. And
You don't want crush versions of those.
You have CNC Pummel, which is
Well,
like 10 times better in Guardian than anything else.
I true. I want crush versions of those because there's a place in my heart for crush, and I just want to play crush cards like Arachne wants to play contract cards. It sucks, but it's there.
You're a
I don't
boomer.
know.
Jeez.
I am a boomer. Holy frick.
You're about to get vaulted. Just hold on, Kevin. It's fine.
True.
Not Kevin. Boom, it's fine. Yeah.
True.
But I don't know. I think the disruption piece is a little bit weird. I do think it's hard because for a new player, it's harder than an existing player. Because there were times as Assassin where you were dealing with Dromite, and you're like, I just hope to God I dodge you, because there's no way I'm beating you
sure.
unless the other player is completely incompetent. So it's hard.
So okay. So now I'll actually make this a conversation about pushing back a little bit. I personally am okay with disruption, and a great example is we had a new player locally who I was explaining how I was just popping off with Victor one day, where I was like, okay, trounce, and then this is this thing, and then I reveal Golden Sun, so this does a thing, and then this does a thing, and I was like, I'm so sorry, this is like a lot of synergy going on, and he's like, nah, man, if it's in the game, then it's in the game, and he was totally chill with wild on hits and whatever, like Spinal Crush pummeled. But the point I want to say, the actually frustrating thing to me in TCGs is when the game lasts 2 turns.
Sure.
That's what makes me not want to play a game, is when it's like
literally 2 turns or functionally 2 turns.
5 mirrors.
I was about to say,
so literally
I
2 turns.
present, I present you Syndra.
Zen mirrors.
That's a different
Yeah.
Syndra mirrors.
Zen mirrors right now are actually like
pretty mid-range.
bit more.
Okay,
The list is evolved, but yeah.
I'm still thinking about like these heroes
Stubby's
at their
Fi.
prime. Yeah, Stubby's Fi. And so like I find that frustrating, and as a new player, you're just like imagine a new player and they have their cards for Bravo because they think Bravo's cool, and they're just like, I'm gonna play they drew a hand of 4 blues, and they're like, okay, I'll play Buckling Below blue and pass the turn, and then they go, okay, here's 35 or something like that, and it's like that's a different kind of tilter, but
and it got banned.
True.
Like
There's
many cards out of that deck got banned.
True. I guess my point is like aggro value. I find I found frustrating when I first started playing the game.
Yeah.
Not as
Because
much disruption.
It feels uninteractive. It's at the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's nothing you can do because there's nothing like happening. It's just cards are just laid on the table on each person's turn, and there's no blocks.
I play something, you do nothing. You play something, I try to do something. It doesn't matter. You just keep doing it.
This is a version of that where it feels like it doesn't matter what you do. They're just executing it in a different way.
I guess I could also see it like, depending on the deck you pick, it can feel like you win in deck building is like a frustrating thing where it's like, well, no matter what I did with this deck,
sure,
I'm gonna
so
lose.
Dromai versus Arachne Huntsman.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't play Burn Them All. They win the game.
Yeah.
Like,
I think my pushback against disruption is the worst for new players. Is there's other really tilting things that can happen in the game that can push away players.
Sure.
The problem with my half of the take is I can't say it in earnest is like worse than disruption, because most players will get pissed if you stop them from playing their game plan more than anything.
I think this is not just going to be an issue for new players. I think, as Tim said, experienced players are going to have an issue with it if you just, I don't get to play the game. I don't have any cards in my hand. You just took them all. I didn't even block with them, and they're gone. Or I blocked with 2 of them or 3 of them, and they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I tried to block, and then that didn't work.
Yeah,
It
I
still
tried to
got
block
over.
and I got punished for it. What do I do?
Yeah,
I'm doing the thing. I'm interacting. I'm playing the game,
and
and I'm
still
getting
losing.
punished for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like
that's good. Yeah, good.
it's similar to Zen at his height when he had 9 bonds,
Mm-hmm.
and the correct choice was to not attack him, so
Yeah.
he couldn't use traverse,
Yeah.
and you would get punished for playing the game and attacking him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a massively feels bad experience. It's why they nerfed him multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Traverse is probably going to get the Crown of Seeds treatment, in my opinion, once
Hope so.
the Mystic Heroes are gone.
Hope so.
Yeah, I think it should.
But I think, I mean, obviously this is the most disruption they're ever going to have available to Assassins. Whether or not it's enough to create those game states where it feels like it doesn't matter what you do, I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if we'd cross that critical mass, given what we've seen New and Azuri do to people with just Misfail. Like, we've seen it. It won a Pro Tour.
Yeah.
We watched
no one-
Azuri pick a Zen apart
Mm-hmm.
when they had Art of War.
Yeah, I think that's the issue with Assassin now is before Assassin had a couple ways. Like you could either go over the top on them, you could even out mid-range them at one point, or you could board state them. Now with this much disruption, in my opinion, and with all the tech cards you have, because like Syndra is gonna be really good, but Syndra also is a lot more techable, at least on face. Like erase face, that all you got. This round's on me. Like you can run
round's
things
on
that make
me.
Syndra want to cry. But like Assassin now, in my opinion, the only thing that truly counters it is just like true board state, which we don't have, which I think we're gonna get soon. There's a couple legendaries
Well, it's
in
like,
the set.
it's
Makes me
going to
think we
be
will, but
Enigma, and Enigma's going to run like 6 Calming Breeze in the deck,
Yeah.
probably. Or like hard defensive grindy Spectra Prism.
yeah.
Like almost Iris Prism. Except like that isn't even that good because you don't have tomes to like really do the thing in Snowball. It's much harder. But like,
And then we go to a true triangle meta because then Syndra's
Yeah.
gonna absolutely eat that thing for lunch. So it's
yeah, we go to like an actual like 70-30 triangle and it's worse than PT1 meta. Yeah.
yeah. We'll see. I don't know why they gave Hunter's Clave piercing. That card should not have piercing. But
That card having piercing is wild to me.
yeah,
It makes it just it is actual. It went from like, if it's without piercing, it's just on hit mark them or some other effect. Like it is like
Yeah.
fine because it's
Yeah.
just not destroyed on hit, so you just take that trade off. But then they put piercing on it, and it jumps from like a C tier weapon to like an A+ tier weapon. Not quite.
Yeah, because
as
on
smart.
hit it's essentially a 2-for-2 go again because you get
Yeah.
the +1 on the next attack. So it's with
Yeah.
piercing.
Well,
So
you're
it's
getting the
Graven
+1 on
Call
the next
piercing.
attack, plus potentially go again on hit for another thing, or you get to flip into your agent, which is like
Demon
+3
mode. You just
on
go
whatever you're
demon
doing.
mode.
So it's like almost 2 for 4.
And then you also have the one where no one's even talking about again yet, which if you just want to run slip through the cracks and say screw it, the mirrors are going to be completely nuts. I don't care. Okay, now all my stealth has go again. Like Kiss of Death with go again, Mark of the Black Widow with go again, like automatic. Like it's just going to be
Kiss of Death would go again. It's
Stupid.
insane.
Insane.
yeah. So no, I agree. I think disruption's a little rough. I do think it's a little bit easier. I think what's going to suck is a lot of people's first decks, typically, at least in my opinion, everyone has different experiences, are aggro decks. And
Yep.
I think this is the one meta where unless you just, I think aggro decks might actually struggle in this meta, but we'll see. We'll have to see how it plays out. But I think it's just going to be really hard for someone to just pick up Syndra, pick up Zen, because you're going to be playing. Like you could easily go to a tournament in a month and a half where your matchups are like Uziri, new, Marionette, new. Like it could just be
Enigma.
like
New Syndra Viscerae or something.
yeah,
like
and you're just like, oh, my straight aggro deck does absolutely nothing here. So
Like,
it's
Zen's gonna try. Zen with wax on and wax offs might be okay if he like pseudo mid ranges them and has a 20 damage turn, and he gets to Zen state twice.
Zen will also be gone though end of February, so that's there's that.
Probably.
Maybe
He's definitely
RTN
the
season.
he is definitely the best aggro deck into these assassins because of Zen state, and I think also a lot of their cards are lining up that he can trigger wax ons from them
Mhm.
efficiently. which means he can also use Wax Off effectively against them.
Makes me wish Jarl was better. Give me Crown of Seas.
Jarl might not be the worst if you can give them Frostbites every turn.
Yeah, you gotta be consistent. And it's gonna be weird because Cinder's gonna want to run like, I'd say a minimum 13 to 15 blues because she's gonna want to pitch to her kunai when she can't do it. So
yes,
and she's gonna pitch the flame scale a little bit every now and then. So I mean, you're gonna want to have some blues in your deck. So
I think Cinder's probably a 15 to 18 blue deck.
Yeah, I would agree. I think my initial one at 18, but yeah.
But yeah, I am keeping my eye on this in the same way that I was keeping my eye on Enigma after the book bans, because that was spooky. And Aurora and Zen were still able to kind of keep Enigma in check reasonably well. Viserai too. Rosetta did a lot for that.
So how bad of a problem is this, right? The disruption.
We don't know. Currently, I'd say it's high, but I think we get Jeremiah in the next 3 to 4 months. So, or something Jeremiah-esque.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jeremiah was the next Armory deck.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think they don't. One, I think they don't want to put her in a limited set. It's just bad. It's not easy. It's so difficult to balance that.
Yeah, I agree.
Two, if they're gonna make her dust dependent, you put her in an Armory deck and you reprint all the dusts in there, so that people don't need to go back and get them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's a nightmare economically for people. But
yeah,
if she's the next Armory deck, I wouldn't be surprised, especially since this is a Volcor set.
Yeah. And I know the dragons are a part of Volcor lore, and I get that, but none of these heroes really directly align with that.
They haven't shown any dragons in any of the lore pieces yet, and the last lore piece is purely Arachne, it looks like.
Yeah, and the Dragon Scalar Flight Path, that's pretty much not a Jeremiah card, but it is a Jeremiah card. You have Drop of the Dragon Blood, which is really thematic to Jeremiah. So, I don't know. I agree. I think she might be pretty close behind, but we'll see.
Dragon Scalars, I think, is sort of future-proofed for new Dromai. I think it also says more that she's on dusts, because you want to be on that third chain link with the dragon that you're attacking with, but also giving it go again wants to be relevant, which makes me think it doesn't work like old Dromai. So I'm curious to see how that works out, but it's definitely not quite as good for old Dromai as it might be for new, if I had to guess.
So nervous about, personally, for new Dromai, because
I think they've learned a lot, and it's going to be closer to Prism than it is to Enigma.
It's
going to be closer to Prism with the Angels.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is not a massively go wide deck. It's just that Prism still gets to use Spectra.
Yeah.
If Prism doesn't get to use Spectra, she doesn't do anything.
Yeah, as a Guardian, I don't want to be dealing with allies that don't have Phantasm.
Sure. I think they're going to mitigate that by reducing the go again, though. That's what they've shown as their solution.
Once per turn, probably. Or make it harder to have go again.
I would guess actually twice per turn you can get go again, because that third chain link is your boots are free, so you can attack a fourth time on one.
What I want to see is the way to attack costs 3 resources, the whatever the aura swinging one is. That would be great.
That'd be hilarious.
Yes,
and all the Dromai players would cry as all of their red cards are suddenly 0 value.
You play a card that costs 2 with go again into Flame Scale, into
Furnace. Resources to swing one dragon.
Yeah, to swing a dragon. That's what you need to do.
Jesus Christ.
That's your turn over turn game plan loop. That's what I want to say.
Okay.
I don't know. As a Guardian main, this just makes... I'm just sitting here like this. I'm pouting until my mastery set. That's just what I feel like. I have to cope that the mastery set's going to be worth it, and not
I hope it is, because Vault is super cool. But I will say, and I won't go down a rabbit hole, but it's to the other thing I said is Guardian ever going to be able to keep up with talents unless they print another talented Guardian? Guardian just seems like Fab 1.0, and we're in Fab whatever 0.0 now, and it just seems like the way Guardian was basically structured just can't keep up. with what the talents are currently. They just need to like retool it. Like I would love to see like an adult Terra with like other cards or something like that. But
Adult Terra with that text would be so good.
Oh yeah, it'd be very
like that would be like almost better than Ira for grind game.
I have a hot take that I don't want to talk about, which is talents have a benefit, but a talented hero, there's no benefit.
Jarl's not that good.
Yeah, like a talented hero does not mean better than an untalented hero by any stretch. Like,
no, yeah, I like I said, my other topic was gonna be I think talents are more to make different archetypes for one hero rather than make something powerful. But
yeah, I
agree.
So actually, we can jump into that.
We can jump into that.
Actually, if you want to give us the full version of
I think,
that.
I think I do want to address the Guardian thing real quick, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which is, you said Guardian might not be able to keep up with this.
In its current state.
And I think the problem with Guardian is the direction of cards. I'm actually doing the Armed Pits. Thank you for being our guest for today, TCG Talk. Our Armed Pits take, where he was like, we're moving into a synergy era of Flesh and Blood. And the way I would spin that is I feel like the way LSS are making power cards, like the good cards, is different. Pretty much probably since Brian Gottlieb. I'm just going to say that much. In the sense where it's like the cards have more. You said you had a way you wanted to word it, like a better. Like, they have almost like deck restraints if you want them to get the most value out of them. And Guardian is still stuck in the past with having good cards that aren't synergistic with their deck. Victor's the closest thing to it, and that's why I think Victor's the only, playable at an event Guardian. He just has pop-off turns, basically.
So it's interesting because Guardian's most powerful plays right now are CNC Tunic Pummel.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's the most powerful thing you can do, and it requires you to have 2 pieces in your Tunic on 3, which is not hard for the deck to do. It can very kind of smoothly get into that. I wouldn't call them deck restrictions or deck building restrictions.
Yeah, how would you describe it?
You're playing 2-card combos.
Yeah.
And it's... Okay. The question becomes how replaceable are the 2 cards?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the first time we really saw this kind of in action was Icelander, or at least that I'm going to put my finger on as like the point that really sticks out to me because I played Icelander. But Aether Ice Vein is a 2-card combo functionally. Okay. You always have the blue, you built the deck that way, but you have the Aether Ice Vein and you have the ice card. And it's typically an ice card that you're okay with going into your arsenal. And those are like, the Aether Ice Veins are not really replaceable, but you're okay with always having a red attack in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
But your ice card that's going into Arsenal, you had like 21 of those.
Okay.
It was very replaceable.
Yeah.
But it was still a synergy piece, because if you don't have that, your Aether Ice Vein is just bad.
Yeah, that was like the big thing about Tails decks, and most of them being just like non-elemental or not focused on element, because you don't want to put your elements in your arsenal ever.
It's another... Yeah, you don't want to necessarily want to put them in Arsenal. Lexi was a little bit okay with it. Oldhim didn't care because Crown of Seeds existed.
Yeah.
Briar didn't like it because it just didn't work with her hero text.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's you start playing, and this is one of the things that, like, I guess it is a deck building rule, but it's just kind of like a gameplay rule that I kind of have adopted, and I think Mara also the same, is like, don't play 3-card combos.
Yeah.
They're bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just bad.
Yeah.
They're not going to be consistent.
They're almost never overrated.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. Well, they can be overrated. It's just they're so infrequent, and they're usually such bricks without each other that they average below rate, even when they, like, you'll do them once or twice and they feel great. They feel crazy. But then you play 10 games with it and you're like, oh, these other 8 games are bad.
Yeah. And your 2-card combos can't be the whole deck, because if your whole deck is 2-card combos, you're probably gonna be bricking all over the place.
Runeblade
depends on what it is.
Right? That is what Runeblade has always done. Is your 2-card combo is your non-attack with Go Again and your attack action.
Okay, well, I guess what I mean to say is, like, you can run in anybody CNC, Pummel, E-Strike, Razor Reflex for one of the most insane turns in the world. You Razor Reflex your CNC, or you Razor Reflex your E-Strike into CNC with Pummel, and that's like the most insane thing you can do. But like,
it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But it's like it's very inconsistent to draw all those, and there are not replaceable pieces for that. Like I guess you can put Snatch in there instead of E-Strike, but there's no other CNC level.
And then you draw CNC, and you draw
no blues with it, and you cry.
Or you draw CNC and you draw Razor Reflex in the same hand. You're like,
yeah, they don't work together.
No.
So this is something I think they didn't have this. I'm going to use the word codified. It's not exactly the correct word.
Oh, I know why you used it. You used it because we have the new card COD. Kiss of Death.
Nope, that's not why I said that. They've really, so it's interesting because I think before the show you said that they had started doing this
around heavy hitters.
No, I think you said it started in heavy hitters. I think it started in Misfail.
Because I was thinking of Cast Bones, and I was thinking of Trounce. I was thinking of Trounce, and I was thinking of Cast Bones, where they have like deck restrictions that say, build your deck this way.
Yes, that's not what I'm thinking of when I think synergy. It's if I have one card A in my hand and card B in my hand, to use your favorite version of this.
Yeah.
The value goes from 3 to 10.
Well, I think it would be, the value would be 3 and 3 to
3 and 3 to 10
to 10.
Yeah.
Or 11 or 12 or 20.
This was not something they did in heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm. No,
heavy hitters was a very linearly scaling thing.
It did have big cards.
It had big cards, but they were very they were very kind of singular.
Mm-hmm. They weren't like
number of cards.
They weren't like actually combos. They were if you met the deck restriction, get the bonus.
The number of cards in Hatchet Dory that were interchangeable was insane. Mm-hmm. Like it was just nuts.
I guess all of this reminds me of because we were talking about how Guardian isn't meeting the expectation.
Yeah.
When I was building Bravo for like the first time, when I was getting into Guardian, the blues they block 3. That's all you got to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just play your big cards with the blues. And the idea is you have this single one card that's really good conditionally. I don't know. And you don't have these combos that like blow the game up.
Yep. But so like I do think, and the last couple sets have really shown this, where we're getting much more into synergy stuff, where it's like Rosetta, you have to hit your decomposes or you have to have your lightning stuff line up, and it's why Acilio's struggled a lot because he's kind of inconsistent in his synergies.
Yeah.
Because he has the highest restriction on his stuff. Aurora wants 1 lightning card per turn. Acilio wants as many as possible plus exactly 1 burn spell.
Aurora wants flickerless arc lightning. Yeah, like more of these 2-card combos.
That is a high power combo, but it is reliant on having exactly 2 cards.
Yep.
Those cards are also arc lightning is very interchangeable throughout the deck. Flicker Wisp not as much, but you kind of get away with it.
Like ideally in Aurora, you want a lightning card and a blue.
Yeah, you have a lightning card and a blue, or just a bunch of 0/4s that already have go again.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you have Scar, Rabble, Second Strike, that's fine. That hand works. And so I think we're seeing this more where it's like we have the entire mark mechanic, we have fealty mechanics, we have all of these cards that all the assassin cards that rely on dagger stuff and flicking daggers. And then we have ways to replace your daggers built into the deck, which also probably is going to be more prevalent than I initially thought, of the just equip a graphene token. So like all of that stuff comes in. We have all of the flick knives and draconic synergies in Syndra, especially with all the arts. all the different Art of the Dragons. And then Fang has, of course, just built in, you need one Draconic card per go again.
Yeah.
On his weapons. So like we are in that higher synergy point compared to heavy hitters. I don't think they'd figured that out or really nailed it down as a principle of set design. There it is. Before heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Because the set before that was Bright Lights.
Yeah.
They're all mechanologists.
Yep.
Whee! They did it.
They did it.
The set before that was Dusk Till Dawn, which was their last supplemental set. They don't need to do that. And Outsiders, they had pieces of it. And I think they took that and like, this is Uprising plus Outsiders. Hunted is Uprising plus Outsiders.
Yeah,
I like the way you word that. Yeah. I mean, I think
like,
I think most people would like on the surface say exactly that.
Sure.
But
it's all the lessons they've learned from those two sets are really showing up here, because it's like, where do you put Assassin in a draft set?
Yeah.
How do you balance the other classes around it? How do you make it all work and feel organic, and then make it interesting for Constructed at the same time? And I think they've, from what I've seen, I'm excited for it, but I think it is still in that lower individual value. This is definitely not a heavy hitters-esque set.
It's interesting. Do we want to talk about?
Yeah, let's get into the other piece.
The other piece. Yeah. Tell us your other take.
Yeah, it was just that I think that they finally learned with talent. When Tails happened, like, obviously there was COVID, all that. Like, we already know the background of why Tails was broken. We don't have to go into that. But like, if you notice that a lot of the talent stuff has either been super constrictive, which is weird to say, like with Light, I think is really constrictive. Like, a lot of it's just chaff, and it's just like, it doesn't really create an archetype. Like, no one's ever going to play Cleansing Light a day in their life, probably. Let's be real, or something like that. I don't know. Or it's like super broken. But I think the last couple sets, especially for Rosetta, is really, and Miss Veil, as powerful as it is, like, you're starting to see it's like more, I guess Rosetta is better for this, but it's more archetype focused, right? Like they are creating ways to play. Like, even Verdance is, as hard as she is to play and not as great, like, she has multiple ways to play. You can play her more like general, or you can play her more thematic with Earth cards. And then what I'm seeing in this set is it's really, especially with Assassin, hopefully we get some more Chaos stuff, but especially with like Draconic, it's like it's changing the way you play certain classes. Like, both, like, what I'm hoping they do with some of these talents is that they create more archetypes. So, like, you could see, what I want to eventually get to a point is, and I think they're starting to do it with this set, is like, you have Uziri, right? And she can maybe find a way, like with Market of Deceit, you can find a way to implement Chaos stuff into your deck. Or like, so I'm hoping that they start to use talents, and I think they're starting to use talents for more archetype purposes. Like, even Draconic, as powerful as it seems, it's more about like cost reduction and actually like sequencing properly. It's not just play all reds. It was like what it was was what it felt like in Uprising, right? Where it was just vanilla damage, play all reds. Jeremiah changed that a little bit because you had to really sequence, but
yeah,
Syndra, as crazy as she seems, if you really look at the cards, like, it's about cost reduction, sequencing properly, and basically running mostly an all red deck, but it doesn't feel like you're running an all red deck because of how you're sequencing. So I didn't go as in depth as I wanted to and how I wanted to explain it up front, so I'm catching myself a little bit. But I just think that talents are hopefully going to where we can get more archetypes for certain classes, rather than this is a powerful subsect of a class. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see a Fi and Katsu. I want to see one hero get 3 different ways to play it based off the talent that you're using, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I think it's interesting because I feel like you've said that both ways here.
Yeah.
So I think it's very difficult for you to have 3 different archetypes within the same hero. That,
It's difficult to
function.
balance. It's difficult on the players.
Well, I think it's just like difficult for it to even
exist.
be real. It's difficult for it to be for it to exist or be realistic.
Okay.
At least I guess at a
I was taking it a
level.
different way. We can talk about both, but go ahead.
Sure. I think the only example that immediately comes to mind is Briar at the end, but that was literally just Crown of Seeds Briar.
Mm-hmm.
It was Crown of Seeds, the deck, and you happen to have make Embodiments of Earth, which made you have a bunch of 4 blocks. Otherwise, it's hard to have archetypes within a hero just because they're defined by their weapon and their hero text, and then that kind of sets what they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So, therefore, it's harder within a hero for them to have archetypes. I kind of interpreted what you're saying a different way, where it's like within Ninja, we have Mystic Ninja, we have Vanilla Ninja, and we have Draconic Ninja. And all 3 of those will play drastically differently, but still all feel like ninjas.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems pretty reasonable for them to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess now that my brain's not breaking in half, I think the one that I thought of initially, which made me think of this, is like on the surface at least, Syndra seems like she can play 2 ways. You can either play her in a more mix of Draconic, non-Draconic, and you're trying to mark and then use your and hit with the mark to gain fealty, so then you can play stuff like Snatch and make it Draconic or whatever, and use those Draconic chain links, or you just play straight Draconic Ninja and try to use cost reduction. But you can do it in different ways. I don't know how to explain it, I guess, but I kind of agree with what Kevin's point is. I hope that they're making talents to where it just truly feels like, okay, I love Ninja, and I can play Ninja 3 different ways. And not every class has that right now. Like, Guardian really doesn't have that, which kind of feels bad now that Oldheim's gone.
Not quite,
Jarl, Jarl is completely different, but I want to be able to say I have a pool of these class cards and I can play all 3 different talents, but they all feel differently. And I think they're starting to get to that, because before talents were just buffed up versions of the base level class.
Yes.
I think a large part of this comes down to, so Tim brought up in chat that Bolton had combo and Raiden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like I didn't read a second
was
point.
Not
I feel like
necessarily intentional from them, though.
No, I don't think so. I think in a large part, different decks in heroes come from their weapon.
Yeah.
Right? So a different hero will be different in each class because a lot of them have different pools or different specializations. But the weapon will dictate a lot of what your deck is, right?
Yeah.
And I also do want to address the few people in chat. Arsenal Pass just came out with a legendary piece of equipment. You check that out on your own time. I'm trying not to let that poison my mind about this conversation and miss what I'm trying to say here, because it's very exciting, personally. But
what? No, you just trigger my ADHD. Keep talking. I'll try not to freaking...
Yeah. So I think so. Raiden was obviously the weapon for Raiden, and then for combo Bolton it was sabers, and then I don't know. Even other decks feel differently, right? So
well, it's you had Hatchet Dory and you had Dawnblade Dory, but Hatchet Dory was pretty definitively better than Dawnblade.
Yeah,
overall.
and if you sat down across from, I'm gonna keep talking about Guardian. That's all I know. You sat down across from Bravo and he has Anathos, okay. But if you sat down across from him and he has Rampart, you're like, that doesn't change the deck a whole lot, but I already know you're gonna play differently.
It's changing the game plan.
Yeah.
And the choices you're gonna make, sure. So there are some sort of archetypes, and I think Tim also brought up OG Dash has definitely had the widest spectrum of full aggro boost with Talishar, all the way to full turtle with CYB. That is true, but I think at any given time there was still a best build of Dash, and the one that you would expect to see more. So it's weird for this question's a little bit weird, and I think I put it slightly differently, where it's talents should be how they create different gameplay experiences within a class. because
no,
they're going to have a hard time creating different archetypes within a single hero.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's like Syndra and Fi are going to be distinct draconic ninjas, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also separate heroes.
I feel like I've heard them talk about, or if not heard them talk about, I feel like they've alluded to the idea of they have like archetypes within classes that they want to keep kind of evergreen, right? So like they come back out with it in just a different way. I'm trying to think of a great example. Where it's like Prism died as like an aura based build.
Yeah.
She retired. And we got a new Prism that's kind of different. But Enigma is kind of doing the aura thing where it's just like create this ugly
also,
board state.
But it still also feels different.
It feels a little different too. I feel like they're learning what I don't want to say play styles. I guess play styles that players like or feel good.
Yeah.
And they're trying to go back to them in new and interesting ways. And so talents will definitely help shape that, right? Like,
yeah.
Syndra's different than Fi, but they're both closer together than they are to Katsu. Probably.
Yeah. I like how Kevin put it. I guess thinking about it now, maybe it's a more hopeful thing for me, but like for Katsu, for example, there's only really one way to play Katsu.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it is. Like, and even Ira, like, yes, you can play the more aggressive version, but there's one way to play it. Yes, her ability kind of makes you do that, but still, like, Bravo, you can make him more aggressive with, like, Zealous Beltines and E-Strikes and stuff like that, but really Bravo has one way he wants to play. And I'm hoping that they continue to, like, make different hero, like, I like what Kevin's thought is like, actually have different things in the class, because I just don't want a hero to come out and be like, there's one way to play this hero. Which I guess that's the way it's kind of has to be. But like Syndra to me seems like there's multiple ways to play here. Fang even seems like there's multiple ways you're going to be able to play Fang. Where do you want to go for like a heavy Mark Fealty game plan and really try to make your Obsidians be free? Or do you just want to run Quicksilvers and freaking, go for crazy value? And like, but both of them competitively, hopefully, might be like equally viable. And that's what I want to see heroes be able to do more. And I'm hoping that they use talents to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe that means expanding the base level class cards, and maybe that's why a lot of these cards aren't talent locked. Maybe it's because they want them to be able to do different things. Like you can run an all Mark Uziri list now, technically. So I think maybe that's what they're doing.
I think you can't get them, just like with heroes within the same class. You couldn't get two styles within a hero to both be. I know we say competitive, and that's such a vague term.
Yeah, I guess I mean playable is the better term.
Like playable is a vague term. I've seen some jank before that is technically they had all legal cards. So like, my point is, obviously they'll just be at different different whatevers, right? So like Enigma with Scroll is going to be tier 1, but like Enigma with a different Iris is going to be somewhere else on that list.
Refractor was Refractor. Like a very real build of Enigma for a while, and is, I believe, the current way to play her in Commoner.
Okay. But I guess my point is they're not going to all be tier 1 or 2.
No.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Man, now you got me looking at these boots. That's not a discussion.
Oh my gosh, I don't want the discussion to just turn into Arsenal Pass boots.
No, you're good.
But unless someone's got an interesting take on them, which they're pretty fresh to. I think the only question we have about them right now is the rules around them, which I think is fair. But frick, it's actually 9:11. Is there anything else? Wow, it's actually 9:11 o'clock. Is there anything else that we were going to talk about on that subject or other subjects?
No, that makes more sense. I have to deep dive that more, but Kevin put it more eloquently than I could.
Is there any other the topics that you did want to talk about?
No, those are the only two I could think of right now. My brain hurts from looking at these cards in a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Kevin, you got anything? No? All right. I think I'm going to close this out. Actually, TCG Talk, do you know the outro? Go ahead. Close this out.
Thanks for letting me come on.
Oh, frick. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know y'all's outro.
I'm just kidding. So I just want to say, anyone got any TCG talk? You got any shout outs you want to give?
No, well, it's like a semi shout out. If you go to my channel on TC Talk and you go to my homepage, or you go to the description of any of my videos, you can.
You have a
find...
YouTube channel? Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, you can find a Google Sheet link on any of my videos that links you to every creator that I know of, and all of their channels, including these guys. So go on there and follow some people. I have some people highlighted in yellow, but I change that like every month. So if you're new to the game and you're watching this, there's like literally 100 creators on there. You can just click; it'll go straight to their channels. So yeah, that's it.
You can go to his channel, so you can find our channel, and then you can come back here. Kevin, do you have any shout outs?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, you're right. So we have a merch store. If you go to our link in the description of this video, once the video comes out, we'll have a link to the merch store where you can buy shirts branded by us. And then you can also check us out Saturday. We're going to have a live stream with Amy where we're going to be doing, where I'm going to be doing art with, unless Kevin, you're invited to do art with us on Saturday for the design table live stream. And other than that, all I'm going to be doing this weekend is watching the world premiere. So
yeah, I'm debating waking up at 4:30 in the morning. Probably not going to happen, but
I'm probably waking up at 5. You know, those things typically run late. Like they start late. So all right, everyone. Bye.